LaMelo Ball could be the #1 pick in this year's draft, but he's already one of the more popular players across the globe. At 15 years old, he scored 92 points in a high school game. He went on to play overseas in multiple countries and has one of the more outspoken fathers in the entire world. Here are 10 things you didn't know about LaMelo Ball. He committed to UCLA at 13 years old. At just 13 years old, LaMelo followed in his two brothers' paths and committed to play college basketball at UCLA. At the time, LaMelo wasn't a household name. He was playing on the same summer travel team called Big Ballers VXT as his two older brothers and was coached by his parents, LeVar and Tina. But he wasn't as well known as Lonzo or even LiAngelo yet. However, if you watched LaMelo play back then, it was clear that he was going to be a major talent. LaMelo had been playing at the under-17 level since he was 11 years old and was proving that he could hold his own against older competition. Of course, LaMelo never enrolled at UCLA, instead deciding to turn pro overseas. He was the youngest American to ever play professional basketball. While he struggled at times against the competition in Lithuania, LaMelo made history abroad, becoming the youngest American to ever play professional basketball. Ball was just 16 when he made his professional debut for Prainai Vytautas and tallied 10 points and 9 assists. Later in the season, he finished with 19 points and 6 assists in a season-high 27 minutes against Žalgiris. LaMelo only played in 8 games in Lithuania before returning to the States, but he says the experience playing against professionals was invaluable and helped him prepare for what's to come. He scored 92 points in a high school game. Maybe the most noteworthy performance of LaMelo's basketball career to this point came during his 2017 season at Chino Hills when he scored 92 points in a single game, the second most points ever scored in a California high school game. It was an incredible feat for a number of reasons. First off, high school games in California last only 32 minutes. Secondly, LaMelo only had 29 points at halftime, meaning he scored 63 points in the second half. LaMelo was also just 15 years old at the time. He made 37 of 61 shots from the floor, including 7 of 22 from behind the three-point line, hit 11 of 14 free throws, and had 7 assists and 5 rebounds. That outing put LaMelo on the map nationally. He's never looked back since. His half-court shot was the Ball family's first viral moment. Way back in 2016, the world was introduced to the Ball family after LaMelo pulled off one of the more ridiculous acts of his career. During the 2016 Rancho Mirage Holiday Invitational, Ball dribbled the ball up the floor, pointed at the half-court line, and casually pulled up from over 40 feet. Swish! Ball's shot fell softly through the net as his teammates' jaws dropped to the floor. Of course, Ball's Chino Hills squad won their 47th straight game that day as the rest of the country quickly caught on to the LaMelo Ball phenomenon. He made an appearance on WWE. In 2017, at the height of the Big Baller Brand era, a 15-year-old LaMelo appeared alongside his father LeVar and brother Lonzo on WWE Raw. The three sat inside the ring while The Miz tried to negotiate a Big Baller Brand partnership. Eventually, tensions rose, and soon enough, a shirtless LeVar was running around the ring while LaMelo and Lonzo couldn't help but laugh. The stunt was just proof of how far-reaching LaMelo and the Big Baller Brand was at the time. Unfortunately, the appearance is most remembered for LaMelo using a racial slur during the segment. He now owns the Australian team he played for. After playing for the Illawarra Hawks in Australia NBL last season, LaMelo decided to simply purchase the team. That's right, Ball, who's just 19 years old, recently bought the Hawks with his manager Jermaine Jackson, a former NBA player, after he wrapped up his lone season playing down under. Ball played 12 games with the Hawks before a foot injury ended his short stint in Australia. He then declared for the draft and is in the running to be the #1 overall pick this year. So why did he purchase the Hawks? Well, Ball loved his time in Illawarra and developed an affinity for the community and fan base there. He also wants to create a pathway for high school players just like him to play overseas. Another reason for the sale was that Illawarra was facing a lot of financial trouble and reportedly owed money to players and staff. He was named the NBL Rookie of the Year. In his one season playing in Australia, Ball was a hit. He was the main attraction of the NBL, both because of his name and his talent. Ball won Rookie of the Year after playing in just 12 games and averaging 17 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 6.8 assists per game. He had plenty of memorable on-court and off-court accomplishments as well. Ball helped set league viewership and attendance records while becoming the youngest NBL player to record a triple-double. Ball also became the first player in the modern era of the NBL to register back-to-back triple-doubles. Not bad for someone who should have been a freshman in college. He returned to high school. After he spent a year removed from high school playing professionally overseas in Lithuania, Ball returned stateside and enrolled at Spire Institute in Ohio. Why exactly did he re-enroll in high school after playing professionally overseas? It turned out that LaMelo and his brother LiAngelo, who also played on the same team in Lithuania, were overmatched. LaMelo hadn't even finished high school yet, and while his talent was obvious, going up against grown professionals was too much for the 16-year-old. Once he returned to the high school ranks, LaMelo dominated like you'd expect someone with his experience to. At Spire, he routinely put up 20-plus point games and showed many of the traits that have made him a potential #1 overall selection in this year's draft. He was pulled out of high school. LaMelo's path to the NBA has been filled with its fair share of controversy. In October 2017, LaVar Ball announced that he was pulling LaMelo out of his high school, Chino Hills, and would homeschool and train him for the next 2 seasons. The reason behind the decision, according to LaVar, had to do with the coaching LaMelo was receiving at Chino Hills. The team went 30-3 in 2016, but LaVar clashed with head coach Stephen Gilling. Chino Hills then fired Gilling and replaced him with Dennis Lattimore, but LaVar was still not a fan of him or the high school's administration. 2 months after he left Chino Hills, LaMelo signed his first professional contract to play overseas. He won a high school state title with his brothers. On March 26, 2016, LaMelo Ball and his 2 brothers capped off one of the more magical high school seasons ever by winning the California State Championship. Matched up with De La Salle, a side that entered the title game with a 31-2 record, Chino Hills was initially slowed for the first time all season. At halftime, Chino Hills, which was averaging 97.9 points per game on the season, trailed 30-28. But Alonzo Ball-inspired second-half rally started with a 15-2 run, and Chino Hills never looked back, outscoring De La Salle 42-20 in the second half to win the championship 70-50. LaMelo was just a freshman at the time and scored 14 points in the championship-clinching game. That season, LaMelo averaged 16.4 points and 3.8 assists per game and shared National Freshman of the Year honors with his teammate Onyeka Okongwu.